Leading candidates of the European elections participate in a final debate.
Alternative for Germany members have been kicked out of the far-right European Parliament Identity and Democracy faction.
Portugal's high abstention rate raises concerns ahead of the EU election, but there are hopes that this time turnout might exceed expectations.
French President Emmanuel Macron announced troops reinforcements to restore order after more than a week of violence in New-Caledonia.
The far right was the elephant in the room during the last debate of the leading candidates ahead of the European elections. Despite this, the two far-right political groups of the parliament did not participate. The most intense moments revolved around the possibility of cooperating with the ultra-conservatives of ECR. Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission and EPP candidate, said that Giorgia Meloni, Italy's Prime Minister, fulfills two criteria for a possible partnership.
The topics we're going to offer, there we're going to see whether those who are pro-European, and she is clearly pro-European, against Putin, she's been very clear on that one, and pro-rule of law, if this holds, and then we offer to work together.
Ursula von der Leyen was strongly criticised by Nicolas Schmidt, the lead candidate of the Socialists Party, who commented that both the hard-right ECR and far-right ID groups are not democratic.
I wonder what is pro-Europe for you, because I heard Mrs. Meloni at this Madrid conference making a speech, and I cannot imagine that her idea of Europe is the same you have. But we need clarity. The same thing applies to pro-rule of law, and this is essential. Without pro-rule of law, there cannot be a union.
Harry Reinske from the Greens pressed the Renew Europe candidate Sandro Gozi about the Dutch Liberal VVD, which is ready to enter into a governing coalition with the far right in the Netherlands.
Because it is absolutely... I'm sorry to say, Mr. Gozi, but I cannot let you off the hook so easily. And honestly, you cannot just tell us that you are going to solve this after the election. Have an extraordinary group meeting and expel VVD from your group.
We are concentrated on the 9th of June to win this election, and Valérie Hayer, our president of the group, has been very clear. On the 10th of June, we will have a clear debate, and we will discuss democratically like any group should do. Certainly, it won't take us years to decide about this, like it took years to the EPP on Orban.
Lead left candidate Walter Bayer put the emphasis on the need to improve social justice.
I'm shocked by that, what I hear from the Netherlands. I strongly believe that the core of the problem of the far right is the social question. And unless we give dignified lives, decent housing and secure jobs to the people, we will not be able to defeat the far right in Europe.
The ECR and ID were excluded from the debate as they haven't chosen a leading candidate.
Nine far-right Alternative for Germany members have been kicked out of the far-right Identity and Democracy European Parliament faction. The German political party said in a statement it was taking note of ID's decision, but was nonetheless optimistic about the EU elections in June. ID said it gave AfD the boot because it did not want to be associated with incidents related to Maximilian Krah. 47-year-old Krah was the AfD's top EU Parliament pick before he made controversial comments about Nazi soldiers to an Italian newspaper. He said that not all members of the Nazis' elite SS unit, which was involved in major war crimes during World War II, were war criminals. The AfD removed Krah from his leadership position following the missive. Krah responded by writing on X, formerly Twitter, that the statements were being misused to hurt the party. It comes 1 month after one of Krah's assistants was also arrested on espionage charges.
In the 2019 European elections, Portugal had its highest abstention rate since joining the EU, in contrast to the 50% turnout across Europe. From 1987 to 2019, Portugal's voter participation dropped from over 70% to just over 30%. Only Croatia, Slovenia, Czech, and Slovakia had lower turnouts. Political dissatisfaction is a major reason for this. Yet, lower abstention is expected in the June 9 elections, following a recent positive trend.
Os portugueses sentem-se europeus, pertencem à Europa e sabem os benefícios que a União Europeia lhes traz e sabem que foi importante para o desenvolvimento do nosso país, mas depois há uma questão institucional, que é a ligação às próprias instituições europeias, compreender como é que funcionam. E essa questão é mais difícil, porque estamos a falar de instituições que estão longe do território português, mas que de alguma forma têm apostado nos últimos anos em estratégias de comunicação diferente, mesmo pelas redes sociais.
Lack of knowledge about the European Union is another reason for the decision not to vote. Less than half of the Portuguese can name a Portuguese MEP or the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen.
Quando falávamos há pouco da questão de não sabermos, por exemplo, os nossos eurodeputados, temos aqui duas questões diferentes. Temos uma questão, por exemplo, de perceber como é que os eurodeputados podem comunicar melhor o seu trabalho, mas como é que nós também temos que estar despertos para perceber que as decisões que são tomadas em diferentes instituições têm influência no nosso dia-a-dia. E eu acho que isto é uma questão de literacia política europeia, e isto tem que começar nas escolas.
The European elections are expected to mirror the national elections and the growth of the right-wing parties.
Sobretudo o polo mais à direita tem mais representação no Parlamento Nacional, neste caso, e mais pressão em termos de popularidade eleitoral. Julgo que para partidos que integram nomeadamente esta família política mais à direita serão beneficiados nessas eleições, até porque não tinham representação até ao momento.
Portugal will once again have 21 MEPs, but this time they may have very different political backgrounds.
The UN General Assembly has voted to establish a day recognizing the 1995 Srebrenica genocide in Bosnia and Herzegovina. 84 countries voted in favor of the motion, with 19, including Hungary, China and Russia, against. Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić strongly opposed the proposal, saying it branded Serbians as genocidal mass killers.
This is not about reconciliation. This is not about memories. This is something that will just open an old wound and that will create a complete political havoc, and not only in our region, but even here in this hall.
30 years ago, Bosnian Serbs attacked the eastern town of Srebrenica, killing 8,000 Muslim Bosniak men and boys in a UN-declared safe zone. Amnesty International has come out in support for the day, but said it was long overdue. One Bosnian Serb-controlled territory leader had made repeated threats to secede from the Balkan country if the day came to fruition.
On a visit to Nouméa, French President Emmanuel Macron announced troops reinforcements to restore order after more than a week of violence in New-Caledonia. Paris has deployed around 3,000 gendarmes, police and other security forces to the archipelago since the violence began on May 13.
Ces forces resteront aussi longtemps que nécessaire, même durant les Jeux olympiques et paralympiques.
The visit began with a minute of silence in memory of the 6 victims who died during the riots, including 2 gendarmes and 4 civilians. Macron also said the state of emergency imposed in New Caledonia should not be extended if the roadblocks are lifted. The riots were triggered by a bill to reform the electorate, which would give the right to vote to thousands of non-Aboriginal residents. Opponents feared that the Kanaks will be further marginalized.
From prosthetic hands that perfectly mimic our movements to bioprinted cells that replicate human skin, AI is everywhere this year at the Viva Tech conference in Paris. Thousands of startups and visitors flocked to Europe's largest trade fair for innovation and technology, which opened this Wednesday. More than 3,500 exhibitors from 120 different countries have come together for 4 days of exchanges and so much more, according to the director of Vivatech.
À Vivatech, il y a 3 grands enjeux. Le premier, c'est vraiment de découvrir, décrypter toutes les tendances actuelles de la tech et du digital. Le deuxième sujet, c'est vraiment de faire du business entre les startups, entre les grands groupes, entre les États et entre les leaders de la tech. Et le troisième sujet, c'est vraiment faire des connexions. La tech, c'est un événement international, il y a 120 pays qui viennent. Et pour nous, c'est extrêmement intéressant de faire en sorte que voilà, une startup japonaise qui est le pays de l'année, elle rencontre aussi un investisseur africain.
This year, Japan takes center stage as Vivatech's Country of the Year. The city of Tokyo is showcasing Sushi Tech, an innovative concept that seeks to develop technology and AI while simultaneously addressing environmental and urban issues.
まだ AI っていうのは始まったばっかりの技術だと思うんですよね。なので今この瞬間に5年後にこうしようとか10年後にこうしようっていう目標を決めるのはまだ早いかなと思っています。はい。じゃあ代わり何が大事かっていうと、我々行政の人も含めて AI をまず自分で使うことだと思うんですよね。そういった中から AI のことがだんだん分かってきて課題も分かると思いますんで、その後で初めて未来をどうしようって決めるのがいいかなと思います。
The event runs until Saturday, and this year organizers expect to welcome more than 150,000 guests for this 8th edition of Vivatech.
The layer 3.